Unlike some of its competitors, cough Samsung, cough LG, Sony isn't used to flooding the market with products. It likes to take its time and come up with just a few handsets each year, one or two budget phones here, a couple of mid-rangers there, and, if it's a new James Bond movie kind of year, a heavy-hitting flagship for enthusiasts. Well, what do you know? Agent 007 is back, and so is Sony with a brand new flagship, the Xperia Z5. At first glance, the Z5 is typical Sony, a logical continuation of the company's long-running Xperia Z line. However, is this really the Sony we've been looking for? Are the values of the company, and the characteristic traits of its products alive and well in the Xperia Z5? Is it an example of a thought-out, polished Android smartphone, or is it too little, too late? We've waited long enough for the Z5, and now, it's time to see if Sony really has something to serve that's not already on the table. Interface and functionality. The Xperia Z5 has a likable user interface, but it needs more work. Sony has one of the more likable takes on Android, but unlike the timeless appearance of the phone, its software interface is starting to feel a bit tired. It could really use some fresh, new colors to give it a more contemporary look. Android 5's material design mantra is fully realized within the Xperia Z5's apps, and while it's probably a smart idea to not stray too far away from Google's fold, we have to say the user interface appears to be quite inefficient. Many of the built-in apps, along with third-party ones like Facebook, leave little space for the actual content, while the rest of the screen space is taken up by overly large title bars and on-screen buttons. The impression that more could be done with so much screen lingers throughout the UI. As far as app functionality goes, the Sony Xperia Z5 doesn't surprise in any way. In fact, the overall experience and functionality are largely the same as on previous Xperia Z phones. Some things do manage to stand out, though. For some reason, Sony has thought that it'd be fun to launch a phone without an app for note-taking. And when a flagship comes with no Notes app, but does have one for sketching with your fingers, it should really count as a red flag. There are many things a manufacturer can easily omit from its base package to make it cleaner, and the Notes app is not one of them. Besides that, the automatic brightness control appeared to be overly sensitive at times, while some random freezes brought up questions about the level of reliability. Meanwhile, we happen to miss considerably more events like calls and notifications with the Z5 than usual, for no apparent reason. Still, there's a notification LED above the display, which helps with catching those missed events. It's a feature we enjoy having, though we can't figure out why, during charging, the light turns green when the battery reaches 90%. Shouldn't it only do so at 100%? The good news is that, as usual, Sony's custom Android UI feels nicely coherent and relatively straightforward, with few elements that may feel out of place. We'd have said it's really well designed, if it wasn't for the considerable amount of unused screen space.